In July 2025, the border between Cambodia and Thailand became a battlefield, as a dispute over ancient temples turned into a serious military confrontation. Yet this sudden escalation did not come from nowhere. Over the past years, both sides have contributed to an ever-increasing militarization of the border, whose exact location has been disputed for over 75 years. But it was only recently that a combination of strengthened nationalist voices, domestic rivalries, and a breakdown of relations between the two most powerful political dynasties of the two countries made an expanded conflict possible. Even with heavy mediation efforts from outside powers like the United States and China, the crisis repeatedly de-escalated and flared up again until December 2025, when Cambodia and Thailand signed the latest ceasefire agreement. However, the situation continues to be fragile and both sides are constantly accusing each other of violating the peace. But how can a dispute over a few ruined temples drive Cambodia and Thailand closer and closer towards a full-on war? To find out, we'll need to dive deeper into the history of this region and identify the main drivers behind the conflict, which keeps the two neighbors who have so much in common divided over their past. Let me just quickly do some research and... oh, perfect! I just got an email about a totally trustworthy online shop where I can buy books on geopolitics. There's even a link I can click. Good. Do it. Okay, I guess. Let me just click the link and... wait, this video's sponsor, NordVPN, just blocked the site because it was trying to steal my credit card data. No. Phew, that was close. Luckily, I got NordVPN on my side. NordVPN is not just a VPN. With Threat Protection Pro, it can actually help block fake shops, phishing links, malware, and dangerous ads before they can ruin your day. Your overconfidence is your weakness. Nope, it isn't. Threat Protection Pro can warn you if a site is designed to steal your money or data, and it even works without being connected to a VPN server. So whether you're shopping online or just clicking links you probably shouldn't, NordVPN helps keep you safer. Impossible. And of course, NordVPN also gives you the classic VPN benefits: fast connection, privacy, encryption, and increased protection for up to 10 devices with a single account. Maybe I should get NordVPN as well. Do it. But unlike me, click the good link in the pinned comment under this video. Go to nordvpn.com/politicswithpaint and get an exclusive deal plus 4 extra months. It even comes with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video, and now let's dive into the history behind the Cambodian-Thai conflict. When you search for Cambodia on Google, the first image you will see is almost always one of the ancient temple of Angkor Wat, one of the largest temple complexes ever built. It is so iconic that it's even featured on Cambodia's national flag. That is because this temple once stood at the center of a once powerful Khmer Empire, which dominated mainland Southeast Asia throughout much of the Middle Ages. The Khmer were famous for their architectural marvels and erected many impressive temples throughout the region, including those that are at the center of the conflict between Cambodia and Thailand today. It was also during the reign of the Khmer Empire that the Thai people increasingly migrated from what is today southern China to what would eventually become Thailand. At first, the Thai lived under Khmer overlordship, but over time, the empire's grip over them was loosening. The Khmer Empire's decline was a slow and uneven process, driven by rebellions, shifting trade routes, religious transitions, and natural catastrophes. But perhaps the biggest problem of the Khmer were the Khmer themselves. Their ruling elite was constantly fighting against one another, which made it easier for their neighbors to rise up and supplant them. To their west, the Thai kingdom of Ayutthaya eventually emerged as the new powerhouse, while to their north, the Laotian kingdom of Langshan gained independence. And on top of that, the Vietnamese were resurgent and steadily pushed south. Things were looking bleak for the Khmer, and the decisive blow against their empire finally fell in 1431 when the armies of Ayutthaya sacked the Khmer royal city. For most historians, this marked the official end of the Khmer Empire and the start of the shrinking and vulnerable kingdom of Cambodia, which was now limited to its core territories in the south. Over the next few centuries, Cambodia continued to bleed territory until it was little more than a buffer state dominated by its two larger neighbors. But then everything changed when in the 1800s, the European colonial powers and particularly France arrived in the region. Seeing a chance to escape Thai and Vietnamese domination, in 1863 Cambodia accepted becoming a French protectorate, which was a gamble that eventually paid off. France later conquered much of Indochina, and although Ayutthaya, now Thailand, kept its sovereignty, it was forced to cede large chunks of land, increasing the size of the Cambodian protectorate significantly. By 1907, French Cambodia had basically expanded to its modern borders. It was also during this time that the basis for the current territorial conflict between Cambodia and Thailand was laid. Thailand and France agreed to use the watershed principle to determine the exact border through the mountainous jungle region. In simple terms, this method uses the way water flows during rain in the border area to determine where exactly the border is. In this example, if the water flows to the right, it would be part of French Cambodia. If it flows to the left, it would be part of Thailand, which would mean that the border would be exactly where the water flow splits. However, there was a problem. The watershed principle left several temples that were built by the Khmer long ago on the Thai side, which the Cambodians didn't like at all. And so, they asked the French to revise the border and include those temples within Cambodia. The French then basically said, why not, and changed the border in certain areas to include those temples in Cambodia without asking Thailand, which was only sent copies of the revised map in 1908. Now, the Thais didn't like this at all. However, due to French pressure, they did not formally protest against the map, which would come back to bite them decades later. But for the time being, the issue seemed settled until the outbreak of World War II. During the war, Thailand first allied with Japan and fought against France, winning back parts of Cambodia and Laos. But after Japan was defeated, Thailand made a deal with the Allies and returned all occupied territories, and so French rule was restored in Indochina. However,
it was living on borrowed time.
The war's end and the birth of the United Nations ushered in the era of decolonization. And despite French efforts to keep control over Indochina, Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia eventually gained their independence. At first, relations between Thailand and the newly independent Cambodia were friendly. However, Cambodia believed that the 1908 revised treaty defined their border, while Thailand argued that the original 1907 treaty was the correct one. And so, the modern border dispute officially began. In 1957, Thailand sent troops to occupy the disputed land around the Preah Vihear temple. In response, Cambodia decided to bring the border dispute to the International Court of Justice. In 1962, the International Court, by a vote of 9-3, ruled that the disputed temple belonged to Cambodia, noting that back in 1908, Thailand had not formally protested the revised French border. The court then ordered Thailand to withdraw the troops. At first, Thailand complied, but later rejected the ruling. Between 1962 and 1991, the situation remained tense, but both countries were busy with bigger problems. Thailand went through multiple military coups and had to navigate the complex politics of the Cold War. Cambodia, meanwhile, also experienced a lot of turmoil, first with a military dictatorship, then a Maoist regime known as the Khmer Rouge, which was responsible for the death of up to 25% of the country's population until the Vietnamese invasion overthrew that government. Peace talks to find a permanent solution for Cambodia eventually succeeded in 1991, which allowed a UN mission to take over and organize free elections. Subsequently, Cambodia became the constitutional monarchy that we know today. Soon after, Thailand and Cambodia intensified their trade relationship, but the border conflict was still not resolved. It flared up yet again in 2008 after Cambodia got UNESCO to list the disputed Preah Vihear temple as a Cambodian World Heritage Site. There were multiple border skirmishes during which between 15 and 30 people lost their lives. But in 2011, a ceasefire was negotiated and economic cooperation continued. Thailand was investing heavily in Cambodia and millions of Cambodians were working in Thailand, but this didn't help to resolve the border problem. Both Cambodia and Thailand continued to strengthen their positions at the border by constructing roads, clearing forests and digging fortifications. Things finally boiled over in May 2025 when a Cambodian soldier was killed in a skirmish. This led to a 2-month buildup of tensions that ended with the use of artillery, drones and airstrikes, which forced hundreds of thousands to flee their homes. A full-blown war looked imminent, however, pressure was building up from China, the US and ASEAN to stop the fighting. Eventually, Cambodia and Thailand agreed to a ceasefire, which was expanded in October 2025 by US President Donald Trump in his quest to collect ceasefires and peace agreements like Pokemon cards. And while this looked good on TV, it soon turned out promising lower tariffs wasn't enough to quell an almost century-old border dispute. In December 2025, the situation escalated once again, with both sides reporting civilian casualties and severe damage to local temples. And although they agreed to a new ceasefire in late December, both sides have since accused each other of breaching the terms, which brings us to the situation we have today. The outbreak of war between Thailand and Cambodia continues to be a serious danger for the region, but considering how close Cambodia and Thailand are, economically and culturally, why are they willing to destroy their relationship over a very small amount of land? To understand that, we need to take a look at the three core drivers that are fueling this conflict. The first and most obvious driver is rising nationalism in both countries. The disputed land itself has limited economic value, maybe as a tourist destination, but it carries great symbolic weight. For Cambodians, the disputed temples are obviously important links to the ancient Khmer civilization, which built these impressive structures centuries ago. They also believe international law is on their side, since the 1962 International Court of Justice placed at least one of the disputed temples inside Cambodia. Thailand's refusal to honor that decision strikes many Cambodians as an injustice. But Thai sentiment mirrors that anger. Large parts of what is now northern and western Cambodia were ruled by Thailand for centuries until France as a colonial power showed up and forced it to cede their territory. And even when they wanted to finalize that new border with France, the French just changed the agreement unilaterally. Many Thais therefore feel wronged twice. First, by colonial coercion, which defined its modern borders, and secondly, by the International Court of Justice, which they believe is unfairly punishing Thailand for not protesting a border change it was in no position to protest against anyways. The second driver is the once close personal relationship between the two countries' key power brokers. On the Cambodian side is Hun Sen, Prime Minister from 1985 to 2023 and still the president of the ruling Cambodian People's Party. On the Thai side is Thaksin Shinawatra, a billionaire who has been very active in Thai politics since the 1990s. He founded the current ruling party and even led Thailand as Prime Minister from 2001 to 2006. For decades, the friendship and alliance between those two powerful men helped keep the border dispute from boiling over. This arrangement extended to the next generation as well, when Hun Sen's son, Hun Manet, and Thaksin's daughter, Phetothan, each became prime minister of their respective countries. But the relationship publicly broke down after the skirmish in May 2025 that left a Cambodian soldier dead. Hun Sen later released a private phone call with Phetothan on Facebook, which significantly damaged her public image. She was speaking to Hun Sen in a differential manner by calling him uncle, which many in Thailand believe to be unacceptable for a Prime Minister of Thailand. For another, she was criticizing the conduct of Thailand's army and certain military commanders, which obviously was not a good look. Phetothan was subsequently suspended by a court, and her father Thaksin severed personal ties with Hun Sen in response, which ended the once close partnership between these two political dynasties. The third driver is domestic politics. In Cambodia, Hun Sen's son, Hun Manet, took over as prime minister in 2023 but still stands in his father's shadow, and so this conflict is an opportunity to bolster his legitimacy and rally Cambodia's people and elites around him and also divert attention from Cambodia's economic troubles. In Thailand, meanwhile, there is significant tension between the Thai military and the civilian government. The country has a long history of military coups, and the military remains one of the country's most powerful political actors, and the military is very sensitive regarding its public image, which was not helped when the leaked recording had their prime minister criticize them. Therefore, the civilian government felt pressured to act forcefully against Cambodia, otherwise it could lose its legitimacy and in the worst case provoke yet another military coup. The Thai army is also very confident of its material superiority, and indeed, when directly comparing the military power of both countries on paper, Thailand is clearly more powerful. Regardless of how many ceasefires are yet to come, as long as the border dispute is unresolved, it is basically guaranteed that this issue will rear its head again and again. But is there a way to truly solve this dispute? Well, it depends. Ideas of sharing the territory or at least managing the sites jointly were proposed, but they never came to fruition. And now, the 2025 escalation of the conflict has basically made another attempt to achieve a resolution impossible. What's worse, the ongoing situation also threatens to reverse the little progress Cambodia and Thailand made in the past to resolve their differences. You see, these two neighbors also have a dispute over their maritime border since the 1970s, but in 2001 they signed a Memorandum of Understanding which established a political framework on resolving the issue through negotiations and also committed both countries to a joint exploration and development of the disputed area. However, even that agreement is now under threat, after Thailand suggested it may pull out of the deal in February 2026. And if that happens, it could further destabilize the situation and widen the potential area of conflict across the entire terrestrial and maritime border. For now, the conflict remains relatively stable. The leaderships in both Cambodia and Thailand have called for negotiations, but none of them have taken any practical steps towards that goal. The situation at the border is still very tense, and if nothing changes, it's only a matter of time until the conflict reignites. So let us hope that with the help of regional partners and the international system, both countries can find a lasting solution which can protect their disputed historical sites, while allowing both nations and their peoples to live in peace and enjoy their beauty. A big thank you to all my patrons and channel members, and here's a video that you might find interesting. Go check it out. Until next time.